All right. We are back from Paris. Max, what's going on the internet over there?
Well, things are happening. I'm reading all the tweets today, and I noticed that the world is simultaneously falling apart and being reborn. It's one of those moments. It's like the metamorphosis. It's like the butterfly emerging from the chrysalis, like the birds from the pupae coming out of the womb, bursting onto the scene, leaving behind a carcass. When you give birth, they throw away the afterbirth. The afterbirth is all the current legacy system, all the current legacy politicians, all the currency legacy banks. That's the placenta of Bitcoin's birth into the cosmic universal truth. That is the Bitcoin cosmic universal truth. That's what's happening. Hello? Anybody home? Can you hear me?
I thought you were talking about pupusas there. Pupusas are big in the Bitcoin community these days. And, Max and I are going to be doing a live event. We're going to keep you posted on that in, Bitcoin Beach. So we're planning on going down there. Did you see that this week, by the way, that, or I guess it might have even been today, when you're jet lagged, everything kind of feels like, a weird sort of motion through time. Well, Nayib Bukele, he tweeted a little video from the volcano whereby they're Bitcoin mining there. They are actually plugged in and mining.
Right. $1 billion in revenue projected the first 12 months for an economy that does less than 20 billion last I checked. So this is going to have a material impact on this economy. Plus, now a third of the country is hyper Bitcoinized. More people are on the Bitcoin mobile app than have any single relationship with any single one of the banks in El Salvador. Soon that will eclipse having all the people on all the banks in El Salvador. That number will be eclipsed by the number of people on Bitcoin. The number of people signing up to the Lightning Strike app, the Jack Mallers app, that has gone from 20,000 new registrants a day to over 100,000 new registrants a day. So the entire country is going to be on the mobile app, on Lightning Network within 6 months, So we're going to have a true hyper Bitcoinization situation at El Salvador.
Yep. And we're going to go deeper into that in a bit. But first, I want to explain the title here, Microdosing Bitcoin's Toxic Thumb Liquid. So many of you youngsters out there may not have been alive during the 70s when this was quite big. And that is thumb liquid. Now, I know about this because my two sisters, my older and my younger, both had to use thumb liquid, or my mom used it on them because they both suck their thumb. So one way to, at least back in the 70s, I don't know if it's still used, but it's certainly available on Amazon. And the thing is, you put onto the child's thumb it's basically cayenne pepper and like liquid, and it's horrible tasting, and it doesn't taste very good. So it prevents them from sucking their thumb. So for me, I thought it was a good analogy for this whole debate sparked by, of course, Orange Pill Podcast. We spark many debates here. We spark many conversations. And one of them this past week was this toxic Bitcoin maximalism. And, the thing about when a child is sucking their thumb, they're seeking comfort, right? Of mommy. Like it's a sort of, after they've been weaned, they still want the comfort of some sort of, they're taken care of and feeling more cozy and comfy. Well, they're sucking their thumbs, but they have to grow up. And the same thing with, in the Bitcoin space, in the shitcoin space. We're going to look at some headlines here because they're often, not only are they loaded, right? They've have loads of pre-mines, billions of dollars sometimes to be nice guys, right? Nice people. They give a couple $100 million to some orphans in some country, and it gives their project legitimacy. They're also like nice guys because, just like Ted Bundy was a really charming guy, right? That's how he got people, young women, to get into his car before he murdered them. So the thing is, like, toxic Bitcoin maximalism is that thumb liquid, right? it doesn't allow you to go to that comfortable, nurturing space of a guy who's giving you a cut of the stolen funds, essentially, from, deception.
Right. To avoid people getting hooked on thumb sucking or shitcoins, toxic Bitcoin maximalism like thumb liquid has an impact that's toxic. That it's actual pepper spray. It's like pepper spraying people in the face, right? If that's a very toxic response. But if you're trying to prevent something nasty from happening, that's what you got to do. So thumb liquid is for babies, and you put it on your thumb. And when you put the thumb in your mouth, you have a toxic reaction. It's like, ow, ugh, I don't like this. And that's needed in the Bitcoin space. Toxic Bitcoin maximalism is to get people to stop sucking their thumb with shitcoins, where it's pre-mined. And everybody in the shitcoin world, as you point out, they're really, really nice. Like, hi, I'm friendly. We need diversity. We need competition. We need blah, 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 blah. And but because they're pushing a scam, and that's and of course the Bitcoin toxic maximalism, we're trying to get people to avoid being swallowed up by scams, and so it's something that people don't want to hear. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what a toxic Bitcoin maximalist says. It's something that people who are into shitcoins don't want to hear, so they will always demean it. The phrase maximalist came from Vitalik Buterin, who's mentioned, by the way, in Pete Rizzo's piece that just dropped today on Forbes, talking about Bitcoin maximalism and how his journey of 8 years and writing thousands of articles brought him to being a Bitcoin maximalist. And so this is really the prevailing mood music of the space right now is Bitcoin maximalism. You put a little toxic spin on it just for fun.
I also want to make clear, for me personally, I don't care if you shitcoin or want to shitcoin or get wrecked, because some people have to learn that way. I'm not going to interfere in your journey. Don't interfere in mine. Only you can do you. Only I can do myself. Like, you can't do me. I can't do you. So you do your own journey. My toxic Bitcoin maximalism is self-preservation, because, I grew up in a society that not only puts thumb liquid on little babies' thumbs to keep them from suckling. Well, I grew up in a society where you're supposed to be polite. If somebody comes up to a smarmy, door-to-door salesman, like, hey, lovely young lady. Oh, is this your mom? Whoa, you two look like sisters. What a beautiful mother. Hey, would you like to buy how about this nice vacuum cleaner? Or for the Brits, this Hoover, right? So you're taught to be polite, and that's how those people thrive, right? That's how a door-to-door salesman thrives, is they know that even today, at least half the people are going to be polite, right? They're not going to shoot at them. They're going to be like, okay, well, you're smiling at me and you're so friendly and so polite. It's disarming. And sure, why not come in? And by the end, you've spent $500 on a vacuum cleaner that doesn't work, and the guy's made his sale. But, I'm just protecting myself from my natural inclination to be nice and polite to this person. And then I've already done that. My journey has taken me down a path of already having been nice to many people and believing their good intentions, that and maybe they think they really have good intentions. Maybe their intention really is to, print a whole bunch of shit coins, like a UBI sort of situation for the world with their shitcoin that happens to make them a billionaire. Oops, I didn't mean that. But nevertheless, like, I just don't want to get sucked in personally. So I just like to stay behind. It's like any sort of nature, right? Nature does this. All sorts of creatures have these, they'll spew like a toxic fumes around to keep the predators away.
Yeah, like Warren Buffett said, Bitcoin is rat poison, and not being self-aware enough to know that he was ironically referring to himself as the rat, as we now know that Bitcoin kills off the fig. Warren Buffett said, quote, "We have the right to print money," end quote. And that's how he's made his money over the years, is he taps into this banking system that prints money and gives it to him first, and that's the way it's been going on. But this idea of you're a Bitcoin maximalist or you're a toxic Bitcoin maximalist, I mean, that's something that other people say about Bitcoiners who are just talking honestly and truthfully about Bitcoin. So it's not like the Bitcoiners are saying anything that particularly toxic. It's that the Bitcoiners are speaking truth that doesn't want to be heard. And the response from folks who are engaged in censorship are saying you're being toxic. They're using the word toxic to try to censor because that's a trigger word. That's
Oh,
like a word like pedophile on internet. They're hoping to trigger censorship on the social media site by mischaracterizing truthful words about Bitcoin in a way that they hope will trigger some censoring action by the tech oligarchs. And so it's their problem. There is no such thing as toxic Bitcoin maximalism, by the way, because it infers that something somebody says would have an impact on Bitcoin, which is false. Bitcoin's on the vector, it's on its own vector. Nothing can stop it, no matter what anybody says or does. And so there is no such idea of toxicity at all in Bitcoin. There's Bitcoin, and either you accept it or you will be run over by it.
so yeah, I'm gonna pick up on that. But first, I want to say hi, hey out there. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit notifications. How is Max's audio? How is my audio? Am I speaking straight into the mic? Does it sound good? Does it sound good? Is Max speaking into the mic? Does it sound good? I've got my underwear to show you in a few moments. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Once and I swear to God, this is true. And and trust, don't verify, right? Or trust, do verify. You're going to have to verify this. And the only way to verify that I'm wearing a special underwear is to get the likes to, let me see.
Oh,
How many do I
wow.
need to get it to?
I want to put my likes in myself for this. This sounds like worth my like buttons. Hey, let's go. Let me put on my multi
Okay,
glassware here.
right. We have to get the likes up to
How do I find this shoe?
250 likes, and then I'll show you my underwear. But the thing is, like Max was talking about how the how they say toxic Bitcoin maximalism as a way to shut down the conversation. So before we get to the Bhutan story, I want to cut to another story here this week from also Fortune, by the way. Max mentioned, oh no, that was Forbes magazine with Pete Rizzo. So the headline reads, "Currency of the Alt-Right, How White Supremacists and the Far Right Use Bitcoin to Evade the Law and Get Rich."
Okay, this is a trigger word. I just said that, right? The use of the word toxic is to try to trigger social media to censor talk of Bitcoin. Now we're moving on from the environmental considerations, the ESG FUD that never existed, the FUD concerning previous iterations that never existed. Now we're moving on to white supremacy FUD, Stacy.
Well, it's what I like to call what Leo Strauss coined, the former University of Chicago economist. I think he was also a psychologist sort of guy. Anyway, reductio ad Hitlerum. Yes, this is the Latin word for reduction to Hitler, also known as playing the Nazi card, is an attempt to invalidate someone else's position on the basis that the same view was held by Adolf Hitler or the Nazi Party. One example would be that since Hitler was against smoking, this implies that someone who is against smoking is a Nazi. Coined by Leo Strauss in 1953, reductio ad Hitlerum borrows its name from the term used in logic called reductio ad absurdum, reduction to the absurd. According to Strauss, reductio ad Hitlerum is a form of ad hominem, ad misericordiam, or fallacy of irrelevance. See, we're teaching you all these big words, and expect this to also be picked up in the Bitcoin space. The other podcasters, other influencers, thinkers, philosophers in the space, and hopefully they'll give you a really good, deep interpretation of this. But the suggested rationale is one of guilt by association. It is a tactic often used to derail arguments because such comparisons tend to distract and anger the opponent. So obviously they're trying to say, hey, these neo-Nazis use Bitcoin. Therefore, if you use Bitcoin, you're a neo-Nazi. So they cover like the Stormfront or something. There's a neo-Nazi publication that has accepted Bitcoin, and therefore you're a Nazi if you use it. So this This is what Leo Strauss, who, by the way, all these elite love, called reductio ad Hitlerum.
Right. Meanwhile, the biggest group of Bitcoin users in America is the Black community. I just saw a number of something like a third of the Black community is either using or into Bitcoin. Bitcoin Zay, of course, commenting on this.
Yes.
Ad nauseum, reductive Hitlerarium was chuckling at it because it goes counter to the facts on the ground. It's just made up. It's just FUD. It's just pulled out of somebody's butthole to try to trigger censorship. Remember, that's the key. You've got to use trigger words to get the oligarchs to censor people. And if you're into a shitcoin and you want to censor Bitcoin, you got to somehow, guilt by association, you got to somehow concatenate Bitcoin with a word that hopefully will get censored. But Bitcoin doesn't care. So, I mean, if humans are so stupid as to not go into the Bitcoin vector and allow themselves to become extinct from paper money printing, then that's evolutionary too. That's life too. That's death. That's the way it should be. That's the way it was going to be. Humans have a chance of not going extinct in the next 50 years if they adopt a Bitcoin standard. If they don't, and this is about a 50-year window, then our species will be done, toast, gone.
Right. Well, life is life. Life will go on. Life will always continue. There will always, at the end, no matter what, ice ages, asteroids, always life returns. And it's always because of a virus. There's always some simple virus that plagues the world and restores.
Yeah.
We
well,
came
the
from a
robots
virus.
will be trading it. Amazon's got a new Astro, a new robot that they're selling for $1,000 introductory price. And if humans become extinct, I'm sure Astro, the robots, will be using Bitcoin and happy that the humans are out of the picture.
What's thumb liquid? Somebody wants to know. They're joining us late. So thumb liquid was something you could still get on Amazon, but it was widely used back in the 70s. And it's in order to stop a child from sucking their thumb or biting their fingernails. So it's a foul tasting liquid that is put on the fingernails and prevents them from suckling on their thumb. So this is what Bitcoin does. This is why we have toxic Bitcoin maximalism. It's my case, self-preservation. Some people might be trying to save others. I don't think you can save others. They have to save themselves. But a lot of people like to try to save others and prevent them from making the same mistakes that early Bitcoiners had made, or those who were polite to early Bitcoiners who forked off on their own shitcoin and stuff like that. So it's a way to prevent you from finding, seeking sustenance from something like your thumb is obviously not an adequate replacement for your mother's nourishment from her breast milk.
Right. The Bitcoiners, the shitcoiners always offer those big, luscious breasts full of free milk. And at some point, it turns out that you've got to go through puberty and mature and be your own person, and you can't be sucking your mom's titties for the rest of your life. And the shitcoins are essentially good only for pets. That's why some of them are named after animals, because they're great for pets, and that's about it. To the extent that pets would inherit the earth and humans become extinct, that might be a factor.
Max is so obsessed with humans going extinct.
Well,
many species.
So?
I was talking about there were some footprints found out in the American West, and what they showed was like some humans, modern humans, I think it was like 28,000 years ago, tracking a giant sloth, which would have been 3 tons, this sloth. The sloths are no longer with us. We long extincted them. With humans, out competing them and just slaughtered every single one. They're gone, but we have some of their footprints left. And
yeah, and we shitposting about them by calling them sloths, and making that like, oh, you slow-moving sloth, we extincted you long ago. That's how you got the name sloth. But I'm not in it to help people. I'm not in it to help myself. I'm in it to get right with Satoshi, right? I am in it to get right with Satoshi. That means I'm on the beam of Satoshi, the beam of light. And that's where I am. And I'm being astral planed into the quantum dimension on the Bitcoin beam of light. And people can be on that beam. Some are, and some are not. But don't try to misuse words and censor and be a dick. just if you don't like Bitcoin, that's fine. Just shut the fuck up. You don't need to hear what you're saying because it has nothing to do with anything.
Somebody wants to know, Teo wants to know, is Sasquatch real?
Sasquatch is actually Barry Beck, who is a defenseman for the New York Rangers for a while, and he went to live in the woods after retiring from the National Hockey League. And he stomps around and he eats some of the remaining giant sloths that were left behind from the Ice Age.
That doesn't sound like real.
Really?
Anyway, I was really hoping to be able to show you my underwear, and they were made by our own resident master artist, El Brandon, who made this fantastic pair of underwear for me.
You made this? Huh?
He made that T-shirt for Max. Somebody says you look like Tom Sawyer today.
Huckleberry Finn?
So I guess so.
Down on the Mississippi?
Down on the Mississippi.
Floating down.
So
Mississippi.
To be fair, we may have hit 250. I don't know. Once we get to 250 likes, we're gonna I'm gonna show you my underwear. But first, wow. I have to make sure. Oh, it's 167 likes. So yeah. So let's cut back to the currency of the alt-right. And,
right.
Our friend Pierre Rochard wrote under this, the US dollar literally has slave owners printed on it. George Floyd was murdered by fiat bros for allegedly counterfeiting a $20 bill. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is the most inclusive and diverse system in the world. Right? You can't argue with that. Where's Fortune magazine on that? It was actually an investigation. I think it was AP and somebody else, may have been Fortune magazine, but it was two journalistic bodies who are saying, like, looking into this, researching this, and how much these people made. So, I mean, this is interesting because also in the Biden, I don't know, his latest $3.5 trillion budget. Who knows? There's so many different budgets and so many different programs and so much trillions of dollars packages and stimulus stuff. Like, one of the things is, we're going to cover this in the full dose of Orange Pill this weekend, is that they want to introduce a permanent UBI in order to sustain, because they recognize that the piece is arguing that we're now in asset price inflation capitalism. So you have to, the only way to stay afloat is through asset price inflation. So everybody needs some assets in order to have them inflated away, i.e. supporting their MMT sort of policies. So look at their thinking as like, okay, these group of people who are part of our society, whether you like them or not, the deplorables, the MAGA, all those people, are they going to be willing to give those people this money, the permanent UBI, to get on the house? Do they deserve it? Are they actually willing to give their enemies this money in order to, get this inflationary asset price inflation capitalism? Like, so this is the problem with shitcoins, right? This is they're already exposing their thinking is that we hate these people, they're using Bitcoin. How do we get them to stop having money? Well, here's our permanent UBI where everybody gets a house and all their asset price continuously inflates. So they've already said, well, we don't want those people to have anything. So this is the difference. This is why we toxic Bitcoin, thumb liquid.
Right. We have permanent UBI right now. It's called quantitative easing.
Yes, but they want to do it for everybody, not just bankers.
Right. It's available to the banking class.
Yes.
And they're able to buy companies' income-producing assets for borrowing money at 0%. That's one of the tricks of having a permanent UBI for the oligarch class. And America has its number one problem is that it has an oligarchy problem. This was the problem in Russia after the fall of the Berlin Wall. There were too many freaking oligarchs. After the 2008 financial crisis, America became an entrenched oligarchy, and this is the biggest problem. So do they want to extend the quantitative easing or money printing for the people to the actual people? What they're saying is because BlackRock and others have bought so many single family homes that they need to bail them out by actually flooding the system with money for the people that are renting so that they can give it to BlackRock so that BlackRock can continue to be an oligarch, is what it essentially means. Asset price inflation capitalism, I mean, this is what we've been saying now for 20 years, that only thing that's working in the economy is that asset prices are going higher. That's where you see the inflation. And they said, well, don't count that as inflation. We don't count that because there's been no wage inflation. So therefore, don't count asset price inflation. Now they're saying, actually, the only working component of the economy is asset price inflation. That's the only thing that works. Now, this is after 20 years of saying that it didn't exist. They're saying, and in fact, we have to keep the Ponzi scheme going by extending QE to as many people as we possibly can, but not taking into consideration that the rate at which they're going to flood the system with the UBI will be considerably less than the rate of inflation for people buying stuff. And so it's just a perpetuation of the same scheme. It fits into a common theme here, is that the tricks from the bankers don't change, only the names. Only the way they describe it, only the way the Financial Times covers it, only the way the Wall Street Journal describes it. That's what changes. But the underlying trick performed, the accounting fraud by the banks and the central banks is essentially the same. And it goes back to the assignat and what happened with the Assemblée Nationale in France, collateralizing the church to print more fake money. You created inflation, which needed to create more fake money. That's how France lost ownership of. That's how France.
No, the Catholic Church, the Vatican lost ownership of Notre Dame.
That's right. The Vatican lost ownership of Notre Dame. So it went up in flames. I don't go down there.
Okay. But let's see if we're at 250, 50 likes. And then when we get to 250 likes, then I am going to show you my special underwear.
Wow.
No, not like the Mormon sort. I guess the Mormons have special underwear. I don't know. I've always heard that. I always heard that about Mitt Romney, right? When they talked about his Mormonism.
It was like Eldridge Cleaver when he had the dick pocket underwear, special pocket for his penis.
Yes. You
can look that up on the web. Eldridge Cleaver underwear.
All right. I'm going to put my legs up here. I hope I didn't knock anything over and turn off the stream. So imagine a worse take. Okay. This is Alex Gladstein about this remarkable story from Bloomberg News. Okay. This explains our title. I'm going to put the title up.
All right.
Microdosing, Bitcoin's toxic thumb liquid. For those just joining us, thumb liquid is something that was quite prevalent in the 70s, whereby children who were still sucking their thumb or biting their fingernails had this liquid applied to them, and it tasted horrible, and it was very unpleasant, and it taught the child not to continue, seeking comfort in his thumb or her thumb. And so that's what Bitcoin toxic maximalism is about, to prevent seeking the easy way down the shitcoin road, because it's only easy for a moment. And then after, a 5-10 years of suckling on a shitcoin, your economy would look just as horrible as this shitcoin US dollar economy, right? So cut to, this is why the shitcoins are so horrible. They're able to print up billions of dollars that they've dumped on desperate people, suckling on their thumb. This tiny nation is on a fast track to a crypto revolution. Unlike El Salvador, Bhutan is doing the whole blockchain thing right. So, unlike El Salvador's nightmarish foray into crypto, Bhutan's doing the whole blockchain thing right. The hydroelectric powered nation teamed up with San Francisco-based Ripple to create a paperless version of its national currency called the Ngoltrum. The pilot includes an open source ledger that claims to be carbon neutral and 120,000 times more efficient than proof of work chains. Will going digital make the 800,000 strong, mostly Buddhist society even happier than in its butter bartering days? Andy Mukherjee's answers, it might. So this is disturbing on so many levels. And the thing that the second sentence starts, the hydroelectric powered nation. Okay, that's where you want them Bitcoin mining, right? They're saying they're being offered this shitcoin ledger that is carbon neutral. It's like, it doesn't matter. Even if, no matter what, everything they do there, anything they manufacture is carbon neutral because they've got hydroelectric. It's already built. Like building the dam obviously uses carbon, but here the dishonesty runs deep.
Right. Well, it's a great example. In other words, they're talking about Ripple, which is centralized garbage and can be turned off at any second. And this is going to be a whole heist of a country's economy by the organizers of Ripple, who are being, rightfully investigated by the SEC in a huge, huge lawsuit, which will end up hopefully with some justice being applied, and describing Bitcoin in unflattering terms. Those toxic Bitcoin maximalists who are messing up El Salvador versus the nice, friendly, carbon neutral Ripple people who wear a nice suit and say nice things.
Yep.
Right. This is a perfect example of this.
Yes.
So this entire country is going to get fucked up the ass by Ripple, unfortunately. But again, just like the people, a country has to do what the country's going to do. If it has to get wrecked to eventually end up buying and mining Bitcoin when it's over 500, 600, 700,000 a coin, Bhutan, you Buddhist monks, that's what's going to take. But if you just maybe, did a prayer, some silent prayer, and thought about what you're doing here for a second, you could avoid the biggest catastrophe in the history of your country by getting involved with those charlatans at Ripple.
Yeah. So I'm going to go a little bit further into this, but we have hit 250 likes, which means I have to show you my underwear from El Brandon. El Brandon, has an online shop with amazing stuff. And I'm going to show you my underwear.
Jesus.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm like,
okay.
This show has taken a very, very 1970s turn.
Okay, if there are any people not prepared for this, turn away. I don't want to trigger anybody who's, concerned about seeing a vagina or something. You're going to see a little Max pop out. Watch this.
What?
Watch this. Watch this.
Oh my God! This is the bum bum bum. Wow, that's incredible. This show just gets better and better. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was fun.
That's cool. I have similar underwear. They're more like boxer underwear. I'm not wearing them.
I think people want to see me instead.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true. But
even all people of all persuasions want to see me instead. Maybe I understand that in El Salvador it's very hot all the time. So maybe at our event in Bitcoin Beach, I'll do something similar, but even more. Just out of necessity.
Wow. Okay. That's great.
Imagine if I had a margarita right now.
It baffles the mind.
Wait, where the OnlyFans? Where are they? Where's our OnlyFans? Right.
Yeah.
She's got Max in her underwear first time. Somebody wants to see it closer. Brandon Martin, yes. Good job on them. They fit perfectly.
Oh yeah.
I didn't show you my behind, but again, you'll have to go to one of our live events to see that, the full Monty.
Oh yeah, the full Monty. Exactly. So I think
Max
I'm the one that first started wearing, scantily clad underwear on stage. I see that spreading too.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. No, like there's been a lot of it's a hive mind, right? Like it's like this vibration of the Bitcoin community, and it's just like it's something that didn't exist 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. But in the past year and a half, it really feels to me kind of like March of 2020. Something happened there, right? With the crash, and then how like something happened, like the people, obviously something happened because Paul Tudor Jones entered Bitcoin then, and Michael Saylor soon after. So something cosmic happened in those first moments of the pandemic, the lockdowns, the hyper money printing. Remember, that's when the money printer go brrr, that meme came out, and the berserkness happening. Happening,
baby.
It's happening.
It's all the cosmic hive mind has always been there, even before Bitcoin. And
Yes.
we've had glimpses of it in the past in different iterations, different technologies, different artistic expressions. And with Bitcoin, we had the beginning of a truly monetization of the global hive mind, and what that might mean. And it has, when you describe it and use those particular words, because the words are very simplistic in all cases and fail to fully communicate the profound philosophical implications. So don't get all upset if I use a word or a sentence that triggers you in some way. I just hope that I'm conveying meaning in a way that triggers more thought. But the point is that this potential has always been there, and now we're living it. And every month we get a reveal of this in more in more stark ways. Like Jordan Peterson. Okay, he's a very big personality. He was recently orange pilled. And now he just released a video about why Keynesianism sucks, right? I mean, this is something that was not on his radar 2 years ago. You've got Michael Saylor now he's on social media just basically throwing fireballs like some god on Mount Olympus, just like just destroying all the the doubters out there and the shitcoiners, just like throwing thunderbolts. You've got other folks, of course, in the Bitcoin space who continue to write really great stuff. I'm looking forward to picking up again on the Robert Breedlove stuff. He's one of the best writers in the Bitcoin space, and he was in Bali. Then he went to Hawaii, and he's been in deep meditation, recently. And from what I understand, he's about to unleash some more. He's got that series with Michael Saylor where they're going mano a mano in a deep dive into the philosophy of Bitcoin. That's the main rail. That's the tunnel. That's the channel from your feelings of fear to your embracing the cosmic faith. It's all there.
Yes. I understand what you're saying, but I do feel like something definitely changed in March 2020. Something obviously changed because of those big minds brought in. It's like a 12th monkey sort of situation where like just the right amount of philosophers and thinkers and conversations. Something happened. One person joined Twitter. Who knows what it was, but something happened. Like it just, and I think evolution does it. It's like something like even with Bitcoin, like it tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. The cypherpunks tried over and over for 20 years, 30 years to try to make Bitcoin. And then it seems instant overnight, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing happened with Bitcoin. It was like around for 10 years and we were all feeling this giant elephant trying to figure out what it is. Is it a hose? Is it a wall? Is it a bridge? Like, what is this thing, right? And something happened and it just like this hive mind. But I was saying, like, Max and I, right before we went to Paris, we were just trying to get to sleep before our early morning flight, and we watched a series. It was about empires, of building empires, engineering empires, and they were looking at various empires throughout the past few thousand years and how they engineered their greatness. And then usually one bad decision crumbles the whole thing, or one bad a decision in war, for example, could crumble it as well. So we were watching the China episode, and they mentioned the treasure fleet, right? And they talked about how, I mean, the Chinese empire was vast and huge for a long time and controlled the seas. And then one emperor got annoyed or jealous or whatever about the power of the eunuchs, the guys who were the generals of the treasure fleet. They were eunuchs, and the emperor basically destroyed their power. He intentionally, because he thought they were getting too wealthy, they were too successful, destroyed their treasure fleet. So we were watching that, and I was like, wow, this seems exactly like what China's doing today. This is remarkable because they're like destroying all these tech companies, taking down these huge conglomerates and stuff like that, like really
banning
powerful
Bitcoin,
people. Banning
mining.
Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin mining. Obviously, you can't ban Bitcoin. But so we brought that up when we talked about it on Kaiser Report, and then we talked about it on either Orange Pill Podcast Full Dose or Microdose. And then Safe Dean was talking about it yesterday. And then today Willy Woo was talking about it, and they're talking about these the treasure fleets. And I was like, wow, it's just like having an hour to kill and found this documentary that triggered all this conversation and new insight. But that happens with all of it, like every single aspect of it. That's the consensus algorithm in a way. Like people start to discuss it and come up with new ideas and new ways of looking at it, new ways of understanding it. But the evolutionary process of us looking at Bitcoin changes us. We change it. Like it's all working together.
Right. So ripples in the hive mind. So usually,
except not Ripple, the shitcoin.
right. Usually these ideas, they travel and they get into
Ripples in
the
hive mind.
And
I like it.
you don't know where they come from, right? They don't know what the origin is. You just like, I think this came from here. I'm not sure. It's changed. It's morphed. But in this case, we actually know the instant that this particular meme was born. And that was, we were watching this show and we said, oh my God, that's like the China now kicking out all those miners. And then we started mentioning it on our show. And then within a week or two, it became a pretty significant meme. So I see this being repeated off and off again. So, I mean, what's interesting is not that it's being repeated, but that it's interesting in that we were actually know the exact instant when that meme was started, which is kind of interesting. And it was just done in a casual conversation that ended up being in social media, television, and then
also like we started, we do this microdose, we do our full dose. It's just me and Max sitting here. And of course, obviously the live chat while we're microdosing. But then we've always started, like that was one of the things we've longest done, is that Max has always done stand up. Like he's always gone on stage and raged, right? We used to call it stand up rage with Max. Like even before Bitcoin, you were doing that, right? And then, so during all this lockdown, during the the ending of all these conference party, right? Let's start a party. I just saw something indicating that the stream went off, which could be true because who knows? There could be construction. Anyway, so that is, we started these parties, right? We started the fuck Elon tour. We no fucks given tour. And now like a load of Bitcoiners are starting to do the same thing. So I think, we started that party vibe.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's why we're still doing this 10 years into Bitcoin, because we're still finding new things to do that turn out to be worthwhile and help shape the vibe. I guess we're vibe shapers. I feel like a vibe shaper.
It's like a shapeshifter.
It's like a shapeshifter. I'm more of a vibe shaper.
Vibe shaper.
I'm a vibe shaper, and I've shaped the vibes. I shape the vibes the way.
Right. Well, yeah. So, we're still a little. Are you jet lagged at all?
I have no idea. I'm so mentally disjoined from anything because of Bitcoin and the vector and the beam of light that all time and space, the continuum is shattered, and I'm really have no idea what's going on other than get right with Satoshi.
So this this alt-right white supremacist thing. And of course, like most of the people, I mean, we know so many people in Bitcoin, and there's no one nationality, race, gender, ethnicity that you could think of, right? That is dominates any of them. You know, there are certain regions like, you know, early Bitcoin, like 2011, 12, 13, you saw a lot of Ukraine, Georgia, Eastern Europe, like with subsidized natural gas from Russia. You know, they were dominating in the whole Bitcoin mining sector. Then it moved to China because they were like basically stealing electricity from the grid, and they had a lot of excess. Let's be frank, like they had a lot of excess hydroelectric power, and now it's moving to Texas. So, I mean, there's always like some dominance of certain groups at certain points, but never on a whole race or
The murmurations of the Bitcoin starlings are
right. That's
constantly
the that,
undulating.
yes, yes, yes. I see that as well. So I think like it's a neutral layer one money. Okay, that's only happened two, three, maybe three times. We're going to talk to Nick Bhatia about this again. Gold, U.S. Treasuries, and Bitcoin. U.S. Treasuries became interfered with, right?
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
no longer neutral. Once they pulled Iran off the SWIFT system, that was the end of that as layer one money. The dollar is no longer layer one money.
Right.
It's just gold and Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, however, has just negated the need or necessity or obviated the need for gold, and partly because those same corrupt central banks have acquired most of the gold. So that's the point. Is like this is neutral layer one money. You can't tell anybody not to use it.
It gives you the passport to the unconscious and the globe and everything. It's a passport to freedom, to knowledge, to having free thoughts. Right? It's a passport. You know, it's fact that nobody in particular, no group is associated with Bitcoin, and it's changing all the time. You know, I always think about it in terms of a pilgrimage. You know, if you've ever been on a pilgrimage, I have. You meet all kinds of people, and the thing they have in common is they're all kind of facing the same way, heading to the same place. So everything else, all the differences dissipate. You know, it's not like any differences matter at that point because you're on a pilgrimage. You're all kind of moving in the same direction to get to the same goal, right? So Bitcoin is the global pilgrimage to layer one money. So we're all now facing the light and heading into the Bitcoin, and some sooner than others.
Right. And that's the thing, is like one of the most famous pilgrimages ever recorded is the pilgrims to Canterbury
Yeah.
in the Canterbury Tales. I think Chaucer wrote it in like 1400. And the thing about it is the people seeking, you know, some sort of salvation on this pilgrimage, they're often gross, disgusting, vile humans. But at the end of the day, you know, the structure of it is that it's actually the authorities, the elite, the institutions that control the system who are disgusting and corrupt and vile. They're the real ones. There's always something charming about the you know, the various flawed characters, let's say, but the vile characters are the ones who are shaking down the pilgrims, right? You know, they're the church. It's the corrupt priests. And as we know, we had the Reformation soon after, and it, it was obviously needed. But that's what we are. Like the orange pill is that pilgrimage. It's the new Canterbury Tales. We're covering the stories of the corrupt. We're looking at that corrupt world ending out there, that corrupt fiat world, and going down the rabbit hole on the other side, and under Stacy's trousers as well. To that's leading you to the rabbit hole. You know, that's like didn't that that's how you went down the rabbit hole, right? Alice like is tricked into come on down the rabbit hole.
It's vagina envy?
No.
You're saying the rabbit hole is a metaphor for vagina?
No, it's a metaphor for enlightenment and finding the orange pill on your own journey, your own path, uh, making your own mistakes, learning from your mistakes, uh, finding a way to do the toxic thumb liquid so that you don't like seek comfort in bad ideas or, short-term solutions to a deeper thing you need to get to.
Right. We're not being toxic. We're being loving. We try to get you off thumb sucking shitcoins. So thumb liquid is a loving action. It's not toxic. The way, the baby that has thumb liquid would say, "Mommy, don't be toxic. I'm trying to suck my thumb." And mommy would say, "No, I'm loving. I'm being loving by
Yes.
weaning you off this this
Yes.
thumb sucking. You need to wean yourself off this. You got to move on." So the mom's being loving. So, do the toxic people who say Bitcoiners are toxic, do they also think their mothers are toxic? Do they think their fathers are toxic? I mean, where does it end for these people?
Well, yes, that's the thing, right? Like everybody ends up, even though they're told, like, were you told when you were a teenager, when you went out, "Hey mom, I'm going to go to my friend's house." "Okay, don't do anything bad. Don't drink and don't smoke dope." "Okay, mom." Definitely won't. And then, of course, what do? You drink, you vomit all over the place, you get sick. Some of your friends end up in the hospital, alcohol poisoning or something, and you do stupid stuff. And, well, you still do it. And then you learn, it's like, oh, that's why mom, as your head is pounding, this is why she said, don't do this. I should have listened. Now I understand what she was talking about.
Exactly right. And we'll continue. So the rowdy shitcoin teenagers will continue to protest the tyranny of adulthood.
Yes. Well,
But,
that's the thing.
They must go let the puberty happen and embrace your mature self.
Stacy Herbert is a guerrilla philosopher, a deadly historian.
A guerrilla philosopher. Yeah.
Not GOR. Like not like.
Oh, right. Well, you used to have that gorilla vest.
I
when
did.
I first met you, you had a vest that was like gorilla fur.
Oh, I gave it to my sister.
That was the first thing I saw you wear, almost.
I want to point out that, as I mentioned at the top of the show about this thumb liquid, is my older sister and my younger sister both had to have this thumb liquid. I didn't. Okay.
Right.
Why? Because I didn't suck my thumb. And then I realized, like, my older sister's 2 years older, so she got to be, got to suckle for 2 years on her own. My younger sister is just a year younger than me. So, like, by the time I was 3 months, my mom was already well into pregnancy. And I already knew it. Like, as a suckling baby, I knew. I was like, I'm short for this boob, right? I'm going to be separated
You're
from
one
this.
boob short.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be taken from this. I feel my sister coming.
All right.
She's in there. She's growing in there, and I don't have much time. So I never got attached to it. I never had to do the thumb sucking like my two sisters.
Wow. I think that's probably true. That's probably true. Absolutely true. Probably absolutely true.
I'm going to think of a metaphor or analogy to use that for Bitcoin, right?
Definitely. I think you should explore that. And
pull the baby off the
come up with
breast.
some Bitcoin analogies. I'll give it some thought myself, but I'll hold my comments for now.
Yeah. Well, you can't say suckle breasts.
I can't say too much, because things will go spin wildly out of control.
All right. So this has been 55 minutes, and I think that's a good length for a microdose, because I know, like, there's some Karens in there that start to say once it hits an hour, they're like, hey, this is no longer a microdose, it's a full dose. So I'm going to wean you off this episode.
Wow. I'm sad.
Now, do you have anything more you want to participate in with this conversation with the people in the group?
No, because once we hit the off button, I can hug you myself. I get all the cuddle time I want. Usually, is cuddle, not cuddle time. This is working. I'd rather be cuddling.
Usually you start talking like as much as possible as soon as I start to say goodbye. So I think the people are expecting you to say something.
Well, the people can fuck off, because we're going to hit the
we
off
need
button.
to wean you off this episode.
I need to wean you off this episode.
It's for your own good.
I give you too much free content.
Yeah, it's for your own good. You got to...
it's tough love.
It's tough love. So make sure to subscribe, hit notifications, and join our Telegram group, because that's where you'll get all the first access to the information about our stand-up events, because the stand-up events are where you'll see my butt, like for when I show
Jesus Christ.
when I show my full underwear,
I got to up my game. This is it. I'm bringing out the G-string. That's it. I see that you've got flat flesh wars coming. I've got to get my G-string out now.
Oh my God.
Wait, the string.
Maybe we might need to find like body doubles.
Oh yeah.
Max and Stacy body doubles who are like Gen Z, and we can have them like do the animated sort of like butt flashing.
Mini-Max somewhere.
You have your what?
Mini-Max.
Well, Mini Max can show his.
There's Mini-Max.
Mini Max's legs are not as nice as yours, though.
Well, we've never seen Mini-Max's legs. Yeah, I know he's a little light in the genitalia.
Well, now the camera's focusing on him. So this is like a bokeh sort of effect happening right now. And I guess it's time to, take our thumbs out of our mouth. And if you haven't done it, put a little bit of thumb liquid on it. And grow up and go out there and stack some sats at swanbitcoin.com/orange pill. Because what are you waiting